All right, thanks for joining. We're about to do a lower body stretch session. So if you're feeling any tightness through your hips, your thighs, your calves, your feet, it's going to be great for you. Quick note before we get started, be sure to be warm. You want to make sure that you do at least 5 to 10 minutes of a warm up prior to starting this. Or maybe you just completed a workout. That's a perfect time. There's a couple ways to warm up. You can actually just jump into a hot shower or bath, sauna if that's available to you. Or if you live in a hot climate, just go outside for a little bit and move, and then we'll go ahead and get started after that. But if you're ready, we're going to start this one with the toes. Move up the back of the feet. We're going to move up the back of the legs and the hamstrings into the glutes, and then we'll wrap around, kind of get the front side of the thighs, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. So we're going to start this one from the kneeling position. First thing we're going to do is press our big toes down into the ground and use our hands to press back into that stretch. So the reason that we're starting down low is because a lot of the fascia in the back of the leg does travel all the way down into the big toe. So if you're feeling any tightness in your hamstrings, sometimes stretching out the toes can help to alleviate that. And all of the stretches today we're going to hold for about 10 to 30 seconds. Enough to get a nice release. We'll go ahead and hold this one for about 5 more seconds. And then move it up into the calves. We're going to do calves one leg at a time. So from here, let's go ahead and step real far back with one leg, pressing the heel down into the ground. We're going to wrap the free leg around the back of the ankle. And then once again, using the hands, we're just trying to press back into that stretch. You should be feeling it from the Achilles tendon all the way up back into the knee. And straightening out your knee will give you a little bit deeper stretch in that gastrocnemius muscle, just right below the knee. Superficial, so this one's a little bit closer to the surface than the deeper calf muscle. We're just breathing into that stretch. Every time you exhale, try to relax, push a little bit deeper. All right, let's switch legs. Next up, we're going to press the opposite heel down into the ground, just beside our first foot. Once again, we're wrapping the free leg behind the ankle, trying to straighten out that knee, and then actively press back into the stretch. Just a couple more seconds here. Let's do one more breath cycle. Good. All right, from there, we're going to take it up into the hamstrings. So for our next stretch, we're going to be in the seated position, nice and tall. You really want to try to maintain a flat low back on this one. So we're going to grab on either behind the thighs, behind the knees, ankles, or if you're really flexible, below your toes or a yoga block. And then every time we inhale on this one, what we're going to do is lift that chest up a little bit higher, try to flatten your low back, and then we're going to exhale a little bit deeper into our stretch. Some of you really flexible folks out there will be able to press your hands really hard into the feet and then pull your head all the way down to the knees. If you're not getting there, that's totally fine. So keep trying to get that length in the low back every time you inhale, reaching a little bit higher with the chest, and then exhaling, just pulling a little bit deeper into that stretch. A couple more seconds on this one. Good. All right, so next up, we're gonna go ahead and go a little wider with the legs. So both legs come out. Let's try to pull those as wide as you can get them. Once again, some of you are really flexible. You should be able to get all the way back into the full splits. I'm not quite there. From this position, we're gonna try to maintain that tall chest, and then we're gonna fold at the hips. So we're coming straight down to the front. Inhale, and exhale, slide a little bit deeper into the stretch. All right, let's take this one over to the right leg. So I'm gonna take my right hand, grab on behind the foot, and then with my left hand, I'm gonna reach up and over. And what this is doing is getting some of those deep low back muscles. So we're getting right hamstrings, adductors, left side QL. And then if you're really reaching up and over, you might get your lats a little bit on that left side as well. Once again, we're actively pulling every time we exhale. We're trying to go a little bit deeper into that stretch. Good, let's switch sides. So same thing here, we're gonna take that left hand, grab onto the left foot. Right hand reaches up and over. So we're getting a nice deep stretch in the left hamstrings now. Left side adductor a little bit. And then the right side QL, which is low back. Remember to breathe. If you follow Gray Cook at all, you've probably heard him say, if you can't breathe in a position, you can't live there. Breath is so important. You really never want to be holding your breath or straining during the stretch. One more breath cycle. Good, all right, let's come back up to neutral. For the next stretch, we're gonna move up into the glutes. So on this one, we're gonna go ahead and lay back, placing one ankle on the opposite knee, and then we're gonna try to reach through this hole between the legs, grabbing onto the shin. We're just pulling up and in. So you feel that stretch in the glutes. Now don't worry too much on this one, what your head is doing. If it's up, that's fine. If you lay all the way back and your head is flat, that's fine as well. Again, what you really want to focus on is that breath. Every time you exhale, we're just pulling a little bit deeper into our stretch. So one more breath cycle here. Good, go ahead and switch legs. So if you spend a lot of time in the weight room, stretching is probably one of those things that you tend to neglect a little bit. I really recommend doing this at the end of every leg day if you can, or at least some variation of these stretches. So we're trying to get all the major muscle groups in the lower body. Again, always hitting it when those muscles are warm. You can imagine taking a piece of meat out of the freezer. It doesn't bend very much, and the body's kind of the same way. So when you're cold, if you wake up in the morning and you're one of those like early morning stretchers,
Again, do your best to warm up, at least doing something passive by taking like a warm shower or something before you start. And go ahead and relax. All right, so next up, we're gonna go ahead and move up into the front, stretching quadriceps. I'm gonna give you a couple variations on this one. So the easiest is just laying down on your belly, grabbing onto one foot, and then pulling your heel into your glute. If you want to deepen this stretch, we can take our free hand, press away from the ground a little bit. We want to make sure that our hips are in contact with the ground as we're pulling that thigh up and in. Once again, we're breathing. Every time we exhale, we want to pull a little bit deeper into that stretch. On this one, it's really important that your heel goes right to the center of your glute. You see a lot of people pulling their leg off to the side. We want to kind of try to avoid that extra torque on the knee by pulling straight up and in. So we're getting those quadriceps without additional torque that could cause an injury. Let's do one more breath cycle on this one. And go ahead and switch legs. Okay, so the next stretch, we're gonna do another one for the quadriceps. I often find that a lot of people are tight in the front. They're a lot more tight in those quadriceps and hip flexors than they are in the back. So if these next two stretches are too much for you, just revert to this one where you're laying on your belly, pulling heel to the glute. But go ahead and try to posture up. So the first one is easier variation. We're gonna start by grabbing onto the heel, grabbing onto the ankle, pulling heel into the glute from the half kneeling position, and then pushing hips forward. Okay, if you wanna take this one a little bit deeper, you can start with a little bit more length between the legs. So we've got one foot on the ground, and both hands beside it. We're gonna reach one arm all the way up, and then back, grabbing onto that foot, and then pulling your heel into the glute in this position. So this is gonna be the deepest of the quadricep stretch. And if you can't get here, that's okay. Try from the half kneeling. And if you can't get that half kneeling, just stay on your belly and then keep pulling that heel right into the center of the glute. Now, as we're in this stretch, if you're here and you're following along, we want to try to drive our hip as far forward as we can so that we're getting that whole length of the rectus femoris. This muscle actually crosses the hip and the knee. So if you're not pushing into the hip, you'll never get it stretched. You'll just get the other three quads. And let's switch legs. Once again, pushing into the hip. If you can't get to this one, it's totally fine. Just stay in the half kneeling position or fully flat on your belly. One more breath cycle here. Let's go ahead and release this stretch. Next up, we're going to switch legs back in the half kneeling position. On this stretch, what we're gonna do is try to get a little bit higher into our iliopsoas group. So we're crunching the abs so that we can keep our back nice and flat. We never wanna arch the back on this one. And as we crunch, we're just gonna shift our body weight forward. You're looking for a stretch right up high in your hip. Breathing, pushing into that stretch. If you want to take this one a little bit deeper, you can take the arm on the same side that we're stretching, place a hand on the back of your head, and then reach up toward the ceiling with your elbow, or with your whole arm extended. You'll feel a little bit deeper stretch up high. Once again, we're just breathing, pushing into that stretch. Let's do one more breath cycle here. And switch legs. Alright, so start with that crunch. Ribs down to the hips. Body weight shifts forward. And then once you've got a pretty good stretch in that hip flexor, we're gonna go ahead and place a hand on the back of the head. Reach the elbow up, or extend the arm out. One more breath cycle here. And relax, release out of that stretch. Okay, we've just got one more. We're gonna go ahead and stretch out the adductors one more time. This one's gonna be from the butterfly position. So we're bringing our feet together. We're gonna pull really tight in toward our body. And then grab on mid-foot. If you can on this one, you wanna try to use your elbows to kind of press down into the thighs. We're just trying to relax those muscles in the inner thighs right now. Nice tall posture as we exhale, push a little bit deeper into the stretch. So that's it. It's our stretch session for the lower body. Hopefully you find that useful. Again, you want to do this after you're warm or after a workout, especially on those leg days. If you're doing a lot of high reps, getting a good pump on in those legs, you want to make sure that you finish out getting a full range of motion and then building that flexibility back into them. All right, thanks for following along. We'll catch you next time.